Welcome, my friends, to this week's Inside Out podcast. I'm Michelle Wells, and I am a life coach, nutritional therapist, and a leader in Run Fitness, and the host of this week's podcast. I am so excited to welcome Georgie Lamb to this week's podcast. Georgie is the founder, creator, and owner of the Spiritual Spa. Georgie is blessed with special gifts as a psychic, medium, clairvoyant, and energy healer. Georgie offers several services towards healing mind, body, and soul, both on a one-to-one and group basis. Georgie has also created, hosted, and delivered spiritual retreat days that have offered healing to many people. So, my friends, without further ado, please welcome Georgie to the Inside Out podcast.
Hi, Michelle and everyone. Good afternoon.
Thank you. For all our listeners, Georgie, could you just share with us a bit about yourself and how you came to creating and being successful with the Spiritual Spa?
I would love to. So I'm Georgie. I have been running the Spiritual Spa for just 3 years now so far, just over 3 years. I decided to take it on permanently and launch it back in 2021. After I left corporate life, 35 years in corporate life. And I'd been doing readings separately. I'd realized that I could heal people by pure accident when I did a trip to Spain. And my friend said, "You've got this healing power. I can feel my leg getting better." And he asked me to sit and put his hands on him because he'd had energy healing before. And he hadn't been able to move his ankle, and he could do this with it as soon as I'd finished. So I realized that was something to explore. But if I go backwards, I used to see ghosts when I was a child. My first friend was a ghost when I was a baby, and we had all sorts of very strange goings on in our house. There were doors that would fly open, lights would go on and off. My parents would have their hair pulled or get pushed when they were on the stairs and things like that. I would wake up in the cot each morning with a teddy bear that used to be on a shelf in the cot with me. It used to cause all sorts of arguments between my parents about who put this bear that I could suffocate on in the cot. And I used to then, when I started talking, would talk to the lady in grey, as I called her, and I'd relay messages to the house that this lady in grey was protecting me from the nasty spirit that was in our house that used to do the bad things. So that continued through life with little examples. I think I was about 8 years old and we were in the car. I said to my dad, "Daddy, you need to stop the car because it's on fire." And he was like, "What the bloody hell is she going on about now?" to my mum. And with that, the bonnet flew up and we were in flames on the motorway. So there's lots of things like that. Or I'd say to mum, "Oh, I was talking to G-Gran, I was talking to Uncle Sid," and of course they were dead. And things like that. So there's lots of little stories as I went through. However,
Did you ever feel really out of place at school knowing this, or did you just feel really like not part of society at all because you were experiencing this, or did it just feel normal to you?
completely normal. In fact, probably the absolute opposite. I've always been quite loud, very confident. I got bullied quite badly at the beginning of school when I first went because I'm ginger and lots of freckles. And I got bullied quite horrifically in my first few weeks until I was too ill to go to school. My dad found out what was wrong with me and taught me how to defend myself. So I actually ended up with a bit of a reputation for stopping bullies at school when I was little, and I used to help the children that they were bullying. And my mum has said to me through my whole life, I have spent my entire life helping others, finding the underdog, dragging the person out of the corner, standing up for people that are being either bullied or pushed aside or who cannot be heard because they might just be shy or that they are made to feel worthless or insignificant. I've done that through my working life and through my entire life to date. And I think that's was always part of this building up in me to realize that my purpose was to help other people and to heal other people, and to guide them through, the various services that I offer now. So that was growing. However, I then went the other way and I pushed it aside because people would take the mickey out of me and they didn't, say that I was a weirdo and that it was a load of rubbish. And and I didn't quite know what to do with that because I wanted to fit in and I wanted to be popular, and so I pushed it all aside and I became a bit of a party animal. And I did that for many, many years, but I still, through all of that and through all of my sort of teens, 20s and 30s and even 40s, always took in anyone that needed help. I would always, and animals, I'm an absolute nightmare for coming home with animals. I went to live in Spain, and within a few weeks I had 3 people lodging in the bedrooms that were homeless and down on their luck, and 5 cats, 3 dogs, and I came home with most of those as well. I came home with all the animals, 1 person. So I've always done that. So I think the purpose side of it has always been in me. I just didn't realize. And then back in 2015, I started having experiences where things were moving in the house. I was seeing spirits at the end of the bed. I couldn't communicate with them. I didn't know what they were saying. I was seeing things walking, moving. I was catching things in the reflections of the glass, hearing voices, getting weird feelings or just messages. So I started writing everything down because I couldn't work out how to communicate it. And that's how the gift came back. It came back with a massive bang. And I launched the Spiritual Spa in 2021.
So just to reflect back and make sure. So as a child, obviously you have these phenomenal gifts. And now I'm kind of hearing that you were like obviously impacted by society. So, and that's what most of us do. And that's what I would probably say from my experiences, that you stem you're stemming your flame.
Yeah.
And so then you went into corporate,
Yes.
and you just, again, you've got a huge heart. So your role in corporate, obviously, you must have been supporting people in some elements.
Yes.
And then what I call the universe gave you a massive, great nudge. It was
Oh,
like, you can't stop this.
yeah.
And that's when you started the spiritual spa. Now, just before you go on to how spiritual spa and what we do, I'm just reflecting, that's amazing. But what, looking back now at that nudge, when you got that nudge, and the experience and the wisdom and the people that you've helped, what would you actually tell your younger self now at that start?
I would love to tell my younger self now to have been me, to embrace the real me, because by the time I'd reached 2015, I was so, everyone saw a different version of George. One of my closest friends, Emma, always says to me, I used to love watching you work a room. We'd go in a room of hundreds of people and you'd say, oh, I've got to find this person, that person, that person for our boss, or find some information or conversation. And she said, you would be 30 seconds, find out who that person was, introduce them to someone else, pass them over, leave, and everyone would be having a conversation, nobody left out, and you'd work the room. I used to love just watching that, but you'd be a different person with whoever was put in front of you, and you immediately adapted. I'm very good at that, but I don't like doing it anymore. So I am now, I think, as close to the real authentic me that I could absolutely possibly be. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride, but I would tell myself to be real, because I have made some terrible decisions on relationships, on money, on houses, on all sorts of things through my life. And it was they were very bad ideas. And I think if I'd have just been me, instead of thinking, I want everyone to like me, I hated it if nobody liked me. Now I couldn't care less if somebody doesn't like me, because that's not my problem. I know that I'm okay. So if somebody doesn't like me, I know that it's not because I've been a bad person or I've done something wrong. It's just that they don't like my energy, and that's okay. So I'd be real. I did a lot of work on myself from 2015 through to 2017 and 18 to realize who me was again, to find that me again. And I've lost a few people along the way. It does come, I think when you do go through, as you know yourself, when you're going through healing and you need to release and become you have to be ready to say who you are to people, and you have to be ready to, I came out eventually a year after doing private readings and healings and starting to do the spiritual spa type stuff, because I was scared of losing some friends. And I have lost some. I have lost quite a lot of people along the way, but not, we haven't fallen out. I don't really fall out with anybody anymore, but they've drifted away, and that's okay. I don't push this on anybody, but it has been quite difficult, I think, for people, because I stopped drinking, and people go, how are we going to party? Well, without you. And I'm like, I'll still be there. I'm still loud, still wildly inappropriate if I need to be, but I'm in control and I don't want to drink anymore. So I've been sober over 3 years now as well. So I've made loads and loads of changes. So my biggest bit of advice would be, don't let people pressure you into, having to have the same hair, the same makeup, the injections in the lips, the face, or whatever, to have, that you have to have a certain label, that you have to act a certain way, because it's no good for you in the long run.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Very much heartfelt. So tell us a bit more about spiritual spa and services and things that you do. I mean, just from listening from your phenomenal journey, it's just amazing. So just elaborate. What is it that you offer and can do?
Okay, so the spiritual spa was originally created during COVID. I decided before COVID, and I was going to be a roving retreat. So the retreat that you attended with me, I wanted to use my skills as somebody that can help others release, heal, and move forward with their lives via meditation, via healing, or via psychic or clairvoyant readings. And I wanted to say, for instance, I'd come to Hemel Hempstead, where you are, and I'd be like, oh, Michelle can do a session on this. And then I've got somebody that's going to come and do a session on regression. I've got somebody that will come and do a shamanic journey. And then when I move from Hemel and I go to somewhere in Scotland, like, oh, someone's going to take us on an ancestral Akashic record journey or something. And it would always be a fluid business plan. So I've always been very much of an itchy feet floating around type person. And I didn't want to be tied into anyone, and I still don't, and I won't be. So what I like to be is fluid. So the idea was I'd go all around the country. I'd say, what services would you like to offer, and join up with me to do my next retreat day? And I'd take it around, because I used to work events for a living. So I'm I knew I could do the logistics. And then COVID hit. So that went out the window completely. And but by then I'd already registered as the spiritual spa in preparation to launch. So I thought, well, I'll carry on doing readings for people. So my forte, or my sort of bread and butter, if you like, is tuning into people's loved ones and giving them messages from them and giving them advice from the universe or spirit world on how they can move forward with their life. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how I'm good at it. I don't know how, but somebody came in this week and I said to her, oh, I'm given the name Cleveland, for instance. And she went, that was my mum's maiden name. And I said, well, it's mum that I've written down that I've got here. And she said she's going to send you a magpie today. And with that one dropped down into my garden. And I went, oh my God. And then somebody today's messaged me and I said, she's handing you a single daisy on a lawn. She sent me a picture of it today. And another one, I said, she's saying Daisy, one Daisy. And she said a man was shouting Daisy across the park when she walked over. So I get these messages, and it gives amazing comfort to people when they've got their loved ones in spirit. So first and foremost, I'm a medium and clairvoyant. So I help people connect to loved ones. And then the psychic stuff comes into it as well. I don't know where it comes from, but I always will just blurt out complete rubbish. Sometimes I'll say, what was it I said to you? Oh, I said to you, oh, you're going to see this pink flamingo, and you saw the pink flamingo. And And sometimes I might get a pink flamingo for 6 people one week, or a, and it's because the spirits are saying, oh yeah, you send my daughter one of those, send my son one of those. I find I get a lot of parents coming that have lost children, that I'm quite good at bringing children through. So that's readings are a massive part. This week I have done 37 readings for people. And then I do healings as well. So I use crystals to pull energy around the body and bring it to life so that I can then tune into it. So a lot of healers that do Reiki or do some form of energy healing, and they bring a heat through or a feeling through. When I put my hands on somebody, a current comes through me. So it's like a flow of very gentle electricity. And again, I'm not quite sure why or how I was gifted with that, but it works. I know she won't mind me using her as an example, but one of my clients, I bumped into her in, I think it was 2019, and I said, do you mind if I ask you something? There's 2 people standing behind you, and the names I gave her were her grandparents that were in spirit. And they're telling me I can help you with your journey and extend it, but I can't change your destination. And she said, I've got terminal cancer, and she'd only been given a short term to live. Well, she's still with us because she comes to me for healing. So I never charge her. I won't charge her. I don't charge a lot of people for cancer that, if they cross my path, I don't charge. And so I do a healing on her every week if we can. And she went back to the doctors, and they said, what have you been doing? All your tumors have shrunk. And she was like, I've been to a healer, and they went mad. It's not scientific. That's a load of rubbish. And she said, but it's worked. You stopped my treatment saying there was no longer treatment, and I've come back for a scan ready for palliative care, and she's done something. So she is now, they've been treating her ever since. They cannot cure the type of cancer she's got, but they're keeping it at bay. And that just makes my life worthwhile, those sort of things. So that's what I feel I'm put on here to help with anyone that comes to me for that sort of thing. And then for people like yourself, I don't know how much of your journey you've shared, but I'll be careful. I did
Be as honest as you like.
So you came to me after one of my retreat days, which you loved. And the retreat day, if I talk about that first, is a program that I wrote, which eventually will be available online. But I started thinking, oh, I'm going to sit behind my laptop. I don't want to go and see people. I'm nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous for? You used to be on stage doing events in front of thousands of people. So I decided to do the retreat day. And it's a whole journey from recognizing and releasing everything that you've held on to in this life, and probably some from the past, and then that journey on to how to respond rather than react, how to regenerate, renew and repair, how to reignite your connection to the universe, renew yourself. I'm sorry if there's some noise in the background, but the dog has now heard me talking and is about to make an appearance. I do apologize.
You're absolutely fine. We love dogs.
And then the journey continues right to the end of the last session. So it's a series of 8 sessions. It's rise and reverberate. Now I condensed that down into the retreat day that you attended, and we put in between each of the sessions a sound bath, some spoken word with Danny, who I think you're going to have on at some point, drumming journey with Francesca. We had all sorts of activities, if you remember, in between. And enter Foxy left. Hey, come on then. And it was just wonderful. So you then came to me and experienced the initial healing session that I do for everybody, and that's a recognize and release session. And you've, the feedback I've had from you has been amazing, and thank you for that. But that is where I'll use a pendulum through the body and awaken your 7 key energy fields through the body, which are the chakras. The pendulum will show me if each field is blocked, out of balance or clear. And I can then explain to everyone, as whoever I'm treating at the time, how the chakra works, how it might affect you emotionally or physically. And then you will have also, before we've sat down, chosen some crystals from my giants collection, and I put you through, if you remember, a breathing exercise. The 2 of those will choose you because they'll react to you, and you hold those for the entire session. And then when I put my hands, I'll sit behind the person like I did with you and put their head in my hands, and I go off into trance, and I take you into trance, and we go off on a lovely journey. I think you and I went to the Woodland Glade and then off to the beach, and then there's this big release, where I've gathered everything. You know, I'm not going to explain it all now because it will take us half an hour, but you know, but there's that release process that we went to where you feel that whoosh and uplifting liberation, freedom, comes at the end of that, which I then anchor with a guided meditation. So I do that. So though I do healings, I do readings, I do a combination of the two, like a 2 hour session, which is probably my most popular one at the moment. And then the retreat day. So the next one, the retreat day after the last feedback, sold out in 2 hours. And I've got to get another day because the wait list is already as big as the next session. So I'm really excited to be able to do more of those and just help others. I am going to be doing more volunteering as well this year. So one thing that I always feel a little off about is that when you're given this gift, some people go, you shouldn't charge for it. I'm like, well, I've got, you know, a lot of bills to pay. I look after my parents, my nan, myself, the cats, the dogs. But I do appreciate, you know, that this is a gift. So I make sure that I go and do, like I do volunteering at various hospices, and I've got lots of people that come and see me for free healings if they need it, like my friend Sam with the terminal cancer and various others. So I feel like when you do have this gift, you should balance it out and give as much back as possible.
No, and just I've got tons of sort of like little curious questions. I think I'm with you 100%, is that we've all got a gift and it's finding it. And for me, as you know, I was an abused child. And my voice was completely stemmed. You know, you should be seen, you're not heard. You know, I'd taken beatings. And on that retreat day, the very first thing, what really stood out with me was I really felt like I came out of surgery after that. You know, my sort of like throat was dry and I was shaking, I was sweating, and then I had such an emotional release.
Yeah.
And it's such a movement. And one of my questions was, when you're talking, and obviously I have experienced this, and I'm just going, but how do you feel, or have you ever felt that you needed to protect your energy? Because I know that I'd be around some people these days since that, and my journey has gone on from that, and the crystal healings, and I brought crystals, and I 100% believe in the crystals, and I hold them dear to my heart, you know, when I'm feeling a bit anxious. But do you I tend to find that, oh, I don't like that person's energy. Have you ever come, and what do you do where you just going, this energy is not working? Or do you, with your gifts, go that when you have that contact and the interaction, you can feel whether or not you're going to connect and be able to help?
Yeah. So I am very much I've become more and more of a loner. I used to be, like I said, the party animal. It was, where's George going? Who, you know, and who's coming? And now I'm the absolute opposite. I can't be in big crowds. I can't, if I'm in a pub, or I can't do clubbing anymore or anything like that. I just can't have that much around me. And if it comes to people whose energy I don't like, I mean, I will very rarely say, I'm sorry, I don't think I can book you in. I think I've done it once out of over 2,000 bookings in the last 3 years. But what I am, very straightforward. People, my friend always go, I can't believe you get away with being so blunt. And I'm like, because I'm me now. And I'm not rude, I'm not being nasty, but I will be very straightforward and say, I'm really sorry, but you're really irritating me, and there's just a bit of a bounce off the energy, so I'm going to move. And some people obviously get very offended with that, but it makes me ill. So sometimes things will jump in me if I'm sitting. I went to a club, for instance, when this first sort of became heavy, and I was standing with my friend, and they went to the toilet, and I just thought, oh my God, I'm in agony. I'm dying here. What's happening to me? I could feel this horrible pain all through my torso. And I turned to the lady next to me, and I just came out with this weird sentence. And it was something, I think it was a name of somebody, and said, don't worry, the cancer's gone, and something about where the cancer was. And this woman looked at me and burst into tears, and she just lost her mum with this specific cancer that I just mentioned. And as soon as I said it, it lifted out of me. So I have to be very careful. So meditation, meditation, meditation. I cannot
Mhm.
bang on about it enough. Meditation changed my life completely. And it's something that I do to protect myself every day now, especially as I do house clearances as well. I did a demon removal in Australia via video last weekend. That was
Oh,
fascinating.
wow.
There were things flying around behind us and all sorts of things. So I'm actually pretty good at that sort of stuff as well. So I'll go and clear houses, clear people, like I did clear you of the energy and the awful heaviness you had from what you'd suffered as a
Mhm.
child and beyond. Um, there can be energies that get stuck in houses, and a lot of people that make such a big drama out of that. There's no need to make a drama out of this. I'll go in there, I'll talk to it. Sometimes it will like throw something at me or slam me and shut me in a room or try and put something over me. Very, very rarely. Usually I can just communicate with whatever spirit's in the house and get it to cross over and then bless the family in the house and move on. So I'm very much protect myself every single day. I don't know how much of the office you can see now, but I've got the whole office gets cleansed, the house gets cleansed. Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is like, morning world. Thank you for another day. Please lift any veils that I've created, accepted, or absorbed, any dark energy, entities, curses, and I reel off all this stuff, increase my connection and send me anyone that needs my help. And that's the first thing I say every day. So,
That's
but
beautiful.
meditation is the way to do it. Meditation, meditation, meditation is the way to,
But I mean, yeah, meditation just for you, but the
yeah,
proven benefits for well-being.
yes,
Um, I'm kind of curious because I obviously experienced trauma, and again, it was just a random nudge that the spiritual day came up and we connected and we took through the crystal healing. What if someone knew a loved one or a friend or even themselves where they go, oh, this is resonating with me, but I just don't know what?
okay,
So I want to reach out to you and just go, well, I like you, but I don't know why I'm here.
yeah.
Do you get that often? How
Every
and
day.
what type of services would you start with?
Yeah. So every day I get so many people that are nervous. So one thing I would say to everybody is it is a positive experience. There is
Mm.
nothing negative about coming to see me. I will not give you negative messages. I might give you some advice on how you can move your life forward, but the healing part of any of my sessions is not in any way negative. It's a positive, uplifting and liberating experience. So there's no need for anyone to feel fear or to feel nervous. That's the first thing. Secondly, I always say, and I want to make this clear, just in case anyone contacts me through seeing this, don't give me any information ever. The less I know, the better. So if you want a reading from me, just give me your name and WhatsApp me. That is the best way. And I will book you in. And I don't want anything else. If someone messages me and says, oh, I want to connect with my mum, I want to connect with my dad who's passed, I say, well, you've just given me everything I needed to con you. So go and see this person instead, and I'll pass them on to a couple of other people that I know. So it's on all of my adverts on my website. Don't give information up front. And I would say that to anyone. If you're booking anyone that does this, there's lots of us out there and we're all great, but there's also a lot of con artists. So be careful. So I would say just if we're looking at the healing side of stuff and trauma release, again, don't tell me anything. Just say, I need release I need the emotional healing, or I need physical healing, or I need a healing session. I will pick it up the minute you come in. Like I did with you when I
Mhm.
immediately zoned in on you when we were at the retreat day and thought, I need to be next to her when I bring them out of this first session. And that's why I was at your feet. Because I could feel that release coming to really fast and hard up out of you. And there was another girl as well at the back, wasn't there? So yeah, don't be scared. It's a positive experience. This is your journey. One thing though, as well, there's a lot of spiritual badge wearers out there, I find. And I think you don't have to heal for the rest of your life. This is about releasing and then moving forward. So that healing session that I've done for you and other people that you know is to get it all out of you. You can have that session again. You can have it as many times as you like, but that's the one I would recommend to get everything out so that you can move forward. Like you're saying, wow, that feeling of lightness, that liberating feeling. And
I think that's quite a good point, because
yeah,
once you have that liberating feeling, from my experience, you're not going to fix the rest of my life for me, because
yeah,
you don't know what my purpose is. You don't know what my goals are. You don't know, all of the other transformation work, I
yeah,
think, comes from being within. Certainly the release, and then like the nutrition, the
absolutely,
meditation, the mindset work I've been working on,
yeah,
and really making a heart connection to then go, who am I and who do I want to be? And certainly I've been coached, I'm now a coach, and it's just
amazing.
helping somebody that support,
Yeah,
because but I could not have had that opportunity without just that releasement. And
mhm,
it doesn't matter, I feel personally, whether or not you've been through a traumatic experience or not. Sometimes society, and we've talked about this, just pigeonhole people,
yeah,
that you feel so compressed
that's right.
that you don't know which way to turn. And I found, very much as you say, it's liberating. It's just
Yeah,
clearing the mind,
yeah,
and not having, and certainly when you've got, like, most people are on their phones 24/7, you've got the Blu-ray that comes in, you've got
yeah,
TV, you've got, oh, you've got to be this type of person
yeah.
or that type of person, you've got to look this way, and if you've got one grey hair out of place, then you're like classed as old and decrepit and
Yeah,
get
get
the pull your
triggered by the
rings out.
change. Yeah,
Exactly. So yeah, I think certainly it's very much the releasement.
yeah,
I just want to go back a bit, because you've talked about, obviously, the lady that had the cancer,
yeah.
and I just kind of go, in this world that we have at the moment, and certainly since the pandemic,
Hmm.
the rise of mental health, and has increased phenomenally. And when I say increase, it is shocking, the statistics that I've found out that are in children and
Oh,
teenagers. And then, I quite liked having COVID and being limited, because I spent more time cooking, learning how to cook,
hmm.
and, feeding my body, nourishing my mind, and making connections with family. Other people found it really, really difficult. They weren't as creative. But we seem to be in a world where the first response to any imbalance, whether or not it's physical, mental, is go and consult conventional medicine, get some drugs,
Get
you'll be
drunk.
fine.
Yeah. Hmm.
And you've shared quite openly how, you've managed to support somebody where you would have thought cancer, conventional medicine, there's no other way forward. Do you ever see or envisage a world where you could do openly with conventional and spiritual healing? Or do you feel that it's very much going to be always driven by us, that have the holistic well-being, continually trying to push against that and getting ourselves out there and knowing, rather, because we're not accepted. There are some holistic therapies that are accepted, there are others that are not.
Yeah.
And it's a very grey, controversial area. Do you envisage a world where actually it can just be balanced between the two?
Great question. I think you're always going to need scientific medicine. You're not going to, unless the second coming is coming, should there be such a thing, that somebody comes down and can touch someone and heal them like that. We are going to need scientific medicine. Um,
Mm.
I suspect there are people out there that can heal incredibly. I've got a book by a lady called Dorothy something, who it's a magnificent story where she could literally bring people almost back to life from the death's door. And I would love to be able to do that. I'd love if I had that sort of gift that I could just sit and put my hands on someone and take their disease away in any way, shape or form. That would be amazing. And if you could teach it to someone else, my life would be complete. That would be my dream, absolute dream. However, I think you at the moment we're always going to need scientific help. You have to rely on the science. You have to rely on chemotherapy for cancer, radiation and things like that. But what I've discovered in the last 3 years is I'm obviously complementing that especially with my friend. So there's not just me. I'm a tiny, insignificant fish in a giant pool of amazing healers and mediums. So I think I don't push myself on anyone. So you'll see people, if they look up my website or my advert, it says I will never contact somebody and ask them. So I stopped Sam in the street. And if I do that, if I actually stop and have a conversation with someone, I would never charge them. So I never approach people. So if you ever get an approach online, I would always say no. But I think for me, the meditation that I do in the mornings or the conversation I have with the universe each day where I say, send me the people that I need to help, they come to me. People come to me every day. I get messages all day, every day. If I look at my phone now, I've just scrolled 4 times and there's people WhatsApping for appointments. So, they're coming in all the time and I know that I can keep helping people. So my hope is that the world will awaken enough so that those that are conning or not real are moved aside, and the companies that are recognizing that you need a well-being program, and lots of them are, companies are recognizing that you need meditation and mindset programs. They're recognizing that you must have a good well-being program in corporate life because otherwise your staff are going to suffer. That's how things, slowly progress. I would say challenge some of the scientific bodies to allow healers to come in and be tested. I'd love it if we could, get me on a row of people that were being treated for chemotherapy and see, I don't know how that would work, see what the difference is with it or without it, because obviously everybody is different. Some will react, some won't, but there must be someone that could sort of plug something in to see what comes through me and other people like me and how that works. Danny, that did the retreat day with us, he's managed to fix, I think it's a family member who's got palsy, got his face back up with his healing powers. He's an incredible healer. And it would be fantastic. I don't see it probably in my lifetime, but I hope the world progresses to realize that the genuine healers out there, the genuine people that are connected, can in some way connect to some sort of force that complements scientific medicine. And call on us to test it somehow. That would be incredible.
So I was just reflecting on that, and I'm going, knowing and experiencing the positive benefits and just hearing you today and how much you've helped, put it out to the universe, because I genuinely do believe that actually if we just present stuff, then if it's our calling, and we can progress that and show that,
absolutely,
then let's do it.
Yeah.
So obviously, for those that are listening, I will put in the show notes your website to reach out to you. But before we wrap up, I suppose, is there any burning items that have come up to you now that you just wish to share with the listeners, or anything that's just slightly different for somebody that's going, this is okay, but I'm still, what do I do?
I'd like to give everyone a little piece of advice. There is power in being positive. There is power in realizing that you are enough, that you are always enough, that you are worthy and deserving of a great path and a great life. And regardless of what has happened to you, however traumatic and however disgusting or just bad luck, you can move forward from these things, and you can have a better life. The things that block you are bitterness, some jealousies, and negativity. So if you are willing to follow, to find yourself again, to find your path, to heal and release stuff. And again, I just want to add in there, your life should not have to be a continuous healing journey. Release everything, heal. This may take a little bit of time, and you might need a few different sessions. You might need to do some shamanic drumming or a different sort of healing, but do some of it. But don't think your whole life is a journey of healing. Do the healing and then ignite it, move forward, do great things, help other people be great. But what you won't achieve it by being negative, by wanting revenge, by being bitter, by being vengeful, by worrying about what everyone else has got and what you haven't. Worry about what you want to do, how you want to serve or help people, what your purpose is. Just do it. Go for it with full passion, full confidence, and full self-belief, because everyone that is supposed to join you on that journey will, and those that need to go off and do their own journey will drift away. And that would be my bit of advice for today.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much
It's been my
for
absolute
coming
pleasure.
on and sharing.
Hours.
We could absolutely. So, just to round up, thank you so much for coming, and to all my listeners, I hope this has resonated with you. We will put in the show notes where you can reach out to Georgie and the Spiritual Spa. But as always, and I say to everybody, and from my heart, elevate your health, elevate your well-being from inside out, and truly let your light shine.
Absolutely.